What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with TechDaily, and in this video, we're going to be unboxing both new Samsung Galaxy Note 20 devices, the regular Note 20 5G and the Note 20 Ultra 5G. Now, unlike in years past, where there might have been a standard version of the phone and a plus version of the phone with some minor differences, this time around, these two devices are very different, both with their physical attributes and their specs and features. So I want to sort of go over the main differences between these two phones as well in this video, and hopefully you can get an idea of which device might be best for you if you're in the market for something new. There's a lot to cover here, so I won't waste any more time. Let's go ahead and get right into it and see what these phones are all about. So in regards to the unboxing experience, this is actually pretty much the same with both phones, but there are a couple of things I at least want to mention. First things first, pulling off the lid, we are of course greeted by the devices themselves. Now, I got the regular Note 20 in the Mystic Gray color, and I got the Note 20 Ultra in Mystic Black. And these two colors are actually very different, which I'll talk about in a second. But for now, we'll put the phones off to the side and see what else comes inside the package. Inside the lid of the box, you'll find a small packet that actually has a SIM ejector tool stuck on the outside there. So if you need that, that's where it's hiding. And inside the little package is just your usual array of paperwork. Nothing else exciting here. Digging a little deeper inside the box, you'll see that both phones have the same couple of accessories. This includes the 25-watt Samsung fast charger and a USB-C cable, and that's actually it. There's no extra S Pen tips, no ODB connector, no earbuds, since neither phone has a headphone jack, so pretty limited on the included stuff. Getting back to the phones, this is the regular Note 20 5G in the Mystic Gray color, and this is the Note 20 Ultra 5G in its Mystic Black colorway. And you might be able to tell that out of the box, there's a clear plastic film on the display of both phones. Some people have called this a screen protector for some reason, but it's really not at all. It's just a crookedly placed piece of film with a weird cutout for the in-display fingerprint reader, and you should absolutely peel this off and just get an actual screen protector if you need one. Now, like I mentioned earlier, with this year's Note 20 lineup, these two devices are more different than ever before, and it starts with their physical design and form factor. First off, size-wise, the regular Note 20 is a bit smaller 6.7-inch phone, while the Note 20 Ultra is a larger 6.9-inch device. Either way you look at it though, these are both very big phones, obviously. There's a lot to manage with one hand, and I definitely recommend trying them out in person if you can, because really these are some of the tallest and widest phones you can get right now. And the size really isn't for everyone, but if you like having as big of a screen as possible, that's exactly what you're going to get with both of these devices. You can also kind of see that with the Note 20 Ultra, it has more of a sharp, boxy design from the front view at least, with pointed corners, while the regular Note 20 is a little more curvy. What's important to note here though is that it's actually the opposite when it comes to the display. The Ultra has a slightly curved edge with its front glass, while the regular Note 20 is a completely flat panel. It's a little hard to see. The curve on the Ultra is pretty subtle, but from the above view you can tell a little more. Talking about pointy corners and curved edges isn't really that important though. The big thing to consider with the build is actually the differing materials. The Note 20 Ultra is an all-glass and metal build, while the regular Note 20 has a plastic rear housing. I know a lot of people were a little surprised by this. I know I was too. To be totally honest, the finish and feel almost mimic like a frosted glass, but when you tap it with your finger, you can very easily tell it is plastic. It doesn't feel cheap necessarily, but it feels and sounds exactly like plastic. It's not really hiding that. While the Note 20 Ultra obviously is the premium, high-quality device with all glass and metal that you might expect. What's also pretty obvious too is the crazy difference in color. Like I mentioned at the start of the video, the Note 20 Ultra is the Mystic Black, while the regular Note 20 is Mystic Gray. Now, to me, the Ultra almost has a dark green tint to it, kind of like a shiny midnight green, and not so much black at all. While the regular Note 20 is, I guess, a little closer to gray gray, but it too has a green tint and a very green glass camera module. That's the same finish as the Note 20 Ultra. On the sides, both phones have polished metal frames, with the Note 20 Ultra more color matched to the glass, and the regular Note 20 having a much lighter polished sort of gunmetal finish. I haven't really seen too many other people get either of these phones in these colors, which is why I went with them. But the lineup of colors this year also includes Mystic Bronze, which we've seen a lot of, and Mystic White for the Note 20 Ultra, and Mystic Green, Mystic Red, and Mystic Blue for the regular Note 20. So plenty of options to choose from if you do want something more colorful. And by the way, with regards to their housing, both of these phones are IP68 water and dust resistant, which is nice. Taking a look around at everything else, on the left side, neither phone has anything at all there. On the right is where you'll see the power and volume buttons. Up top is the SIM card tray, with just the Ultra having expandable storage. The regular Note 20 has no SD card option. Across the bottom, of course, you'll see the S Pen stylus now off to the left, the USB-C charging port, and one of two speakers. The other one is located in the earpiece for dual stereo sound. And across the back, we have the very controversial camera modules, which, especially on the Ultra, I think, take up a ton of space. Certainly one of the most distinct physical features on any smartphone I've come across. With the regular Note 20, the camera bump isn't too terrible. It's there though, it's raised a little bit, but on the Note 20 Ultra, this is really the biggest camera bump I've ever seen. I feel like people are probably tired of hearing about it, so I won't harp on it too much, but this is a huge physical feature on this phone. It really offsets the device, and to be honest, I'd rather the phone had just been thicker to help disguise it better. That would have been a better option. Like I mentioned earlier, both phones have an in-display fingerprint reader, which seems super fast, at least with my initial tests, and they both have face unlock as well, so you can use either option or pair them up. Getting back to the screens, the actual size is just one side of the story here, and there are some differing features that are very important that I want to go over. First off, just a quick note, the camera cutout is noticeably smaller on the Note 20 Ultra, just thought I'd point that out, but when it comes to the screen technology, here is what we're working with. On the regular Note 20, this phone has a 6.7-inch 2400 by 1080 Super AMOLED Plus panel. It's a 20:9 aspect ratio, and it packs around 393 pixels per inch. With the Note 20 Ultra, this phone's 6.9-inch screen is a higher resolution 3088 by 1440 dynamic AMOLED panel that crams in 496 pixels per inch. Now, for the most part, the standard Note 20's display isn't really anything special, which might be a little bit of a negative on this phone, all things considered. With the Note 20 Ultra, you not only get a higher maximum resolution, but you also have the option to enable the 120Hz high refresh rate. Now, similar to the S20, you have to choose if you want the highest QHD resolution or 120Hz at 1080p. You can't have both, but you at least have the option of either with this phone. Personally, I like going with the higher refresh rate. You get that super smooth feel that, to my eyes at least, is something I can tell. It's a little tough on camera, but in person, having a phone with a high refresh rate is just super pleasing to the eye. Overall, if screen technology is really important to you, whether it be just resolution or getting a high refresh rate and super smooth feel, the Note 20 Ultra is the phone to get, and I think the standard Note 20's display should have offered more, all things considered. One other interesting difference actually has to do with the S Pens. With the software features, it's the same sort of setup we've seen, and utilizing the S Pen on these phones is one of the main reasons to even consider the devices in the first place. Obviously, the included stylus can be super useful for jotting down notes, performing gestures, and other useful things, but paired with the displays, the lag and latency has been greatly improved. With the regular Note 20, you now have a 26 millisecond delay, which is down from 45 milliseconds on the Note 10 from last year, but with the Note 20 Ultra, it's an even better 9 millisecond delay. That means that as the S Pen drags across the screen, you should see an even better response time compared to not only last year's phones, but especially with with the Note 20 Ultra. And this is just going to give you a super smooth, really realistic feel as you draw and write. And by the way, the colors of the S Pens are different too, for whatever reason. The Ultra is a deep black finish while the regular Note 20 is gray, but they are the same size and seemingly the exact same S Pens aside from that color. Now, as far as the internal specs, this is where things kind of even out a bit again. Both of these phones are powered by the same Snapdragon 865 Plus processor, or Exynos 990 if you have the international version, though with the standard Note 20, you have just 8 gigabytes of RAM with either 128 or 256 gigabytes of built-in storage. And remember, no SD card slot with this phone. With the Ultra, you get 12 gigabytes of RAM with 128, 256, or 512 gigabyte storage options with an SD card slot as well. Both of these phones also ship with Samsung's newest One UI 2.5 update, so you have the latest and greatest as far as the software side of things. And to be totally honest, out of the box, both of these phones feel almost identical as far as their speed and performance. You likely won't notice a huge difference until you really start pushing these devices with lots and lots of apps loaded and games running. That's where the extra RAM on the Note 20 Ultra is going to come into play. And I will go a little deeper with performance in future videos, but for now just know that at least initially there doesn't seem to be a huge difference. There's also not really a huge difference in battery capacity either, though obviously since I just unboxed these phones, I can't say much for their longevity. But the regular Note 20 has a 4300 milliamp battery inside, while the Ultra has a 4500 milliamp battery. Both of these phones do actually support wireless charging, even with the regular Note 20 being plastic, and reverse wireless charging as well, so no limitations there. And finally, I just want to briefly talk about the camera specs so you can understand what the differences are, but I will have more dedicated camera tests and comparisons in future videos. The regular Note 20 has a pretty decent triple lens setup with a 12 megapixel main lens, 64 megapixel telephoto lens, and a 12 megapixel wide angle, paired with a 10 megapixel selfie camera. Plenty of capabilities here, even as high as 8K video recording and 4K at 60 FPS for both the front and rear cameras. But the Note 20 Ultra, its defining feature, I'd say, is actually its rear camera setup. This phone gets the 108 megapixel main lens, 12 megapixel periscope telephoto lens with 50 times hybrid zoom, and 12 megapixel ultra wide with seemingly the same 10 megapixel selfie camera up front. Like I said, I'm going to put these cameras to the test in separate videos because I think they're worthy of a dedicated deep dive and comparison, but I am really interested to see just how much better, if at all, the Note 20 Ultra's camera is compared to the regular Note 20. So there you go. Those are my initial thoughts and a little bit of a comparison between the Note 20 and Note 20 Ultra. Of course, let me know what you guys think of these phones in the comments down below and what kinds of questions you might have. Also, be sure to let me know what videos you'd like to see me make with them as well. I'm always open to some suggestions. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Be sure to follow TechDaily on Twitter and subscribe to the TechDaily YouTube channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys later.